At OPTAVIA, our mission is to offer the world lifelong transformation, one healthy habit at a time. The following audio contains the personal testimonials of independent coaches and clients within the OPTAVIA community. Their results are based on the unique experiences of their journey. We cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. We hope these stories inspire you to continue your journey with or join OPTAVIA, but please note they have not been verified and your individual journey to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you speak with a healthcare provider in the U.S. or a doctor in Singapore and Hong Kong prior to beginning your journey with OPTAVIA. Additionally, this audio may contain income or earning representations of some independent OPTAVIA coaches. We cannot guarantee financial success. Success with OPTAVIA is derived from successful sales efforts, which require hard work, diligence, skill, persistence, competence, and leadership. OPTAVIA acknowledges that this audio may be accessible to OPTAVIA coaches in the U.S., Hong Kong, and Singapore. For independent OPTAVIA coaches operating in the U.S., please see the OPTAVIA Income Disclosure Statement for statistics on actual earnings of U.S. coaches under the U.S. Compensation Plan. Please note that the Income Disclosure Statement only applies to independent OPTAVIA coaches operating in the U.S. under the U.S. Compensation Plan and does not in any way constitute any representations as to actual or potential accrual of benefits for Hong Kong or Singapore coaches under the International Compensation Plan. Yours in Health, the OPTAVIA team.
Well, good evening. Welcome to the Habits of Health community time, and we're just delighted to have you here this evening. My name is Shirley Mast. I'm an independent certified OPTAVIA coach. We're going to be talking tonight about element 4 in your LifeBook. It's called Building a Healthy Mindset. Now, if you already own a LifeBook, go grab it now, grab a pen, because I have reason to think you might have some things you're going to want to take notes on tonight. So go grab your LifeBook as we start winding up here and getting started, because we've got some really great stuff for you this evening. And I'm just so glad that you all have joined us. So I'll start off though with some introductions because we haven't all met. Again, my name is Shirley Mast, and my own health journey began quite some time ago. And I'm actually going to not spend a lot of time sharing with you about my own story, because if you've got a LifeBook, chances are you already read my story. It's in element 1 of the LifeBook, or you may have also heard my story. I had the opportunity to share my story in Women's World magazine. And it is true that losing 215 pounds is absolutely transformative. But even better for me personally is that it allows me to be a fully present Grammy who's able to be actively involved in my kids' lives, in my grandchildren's lives. And a lot of you have shared with me that because my story was shared in Women's World, or you saw it in the LifeBook, that my story inspired you to get healthy. And if you're one of those people, you need to know I couldn't be more thrilled for you. But for me, this has been considerably more than just a physical journey. And as I started getting healthier, I also needed to work on developing a very healthy mindset. And that's why I'm delighted that I get to talk with you all this evening about one of my very favorite elements in the LifeBook, which is element 4. Healthy mindset begins with self-awareness. And we're going to start off right at the beginning with a poll. So here's a little bit of interaction for you all. And I'd like you to assess where you are right now in this moment. Where are you at on the mindfulness scale? We'll put the poll up. And if you haven't used polls before, as soon as you answer the poll will go away and you can see the screen again. So the question is, how present are you right now in this minute? Are you a 1? Are you like currently, maybe you're washing the dishes and talking to the kids and yelling at the dog? Or maybe you're on the other end of the spectrum. You're a 5. You're fully present. You're really focused. Maybe you've got your LifeBook right in front of you. You've got your pen ready and you're really ready to learn. So once you've answered that, we'll call for the results in just a moment on that. But let me tell you a little bit about where we're headed this evening. So if you've been on any of these calls before, because we host these each week, if you've been on these before, you know that we talk about mindset, skill set, and action. So here's your spoiler alert of where we're going this evening. We're going to talk about the mindset and recognizing that you are the dominant force in your life, and also teach you and introduce you to the skill set of understanding the drama triangle as opposed to the empowerment triangle, and then talk about how you can adopt that growth mindset to put that into action. So I'm really curious to see our poll results let's see where are we tonight? We've got 11% of you that are multitasking. You're talking to the kids and yelling at the dog and all that good stuff. Another 11% that would rate as a 2, about half of in the middle of you, about 25%. We have 26 of you fully present, 27 that are almost fully present. So kudos to you. I'll tell you, you 4s and 5s, you are the ones who are in the best position, really, to be able to get the most out of this evening. Because I know personally, I used to think that multitasking was a skill set. You know, like that was a feature until Dr. A pointed out to me once that actually doesn't help me get to where I want to go. So let's dive in here. And again, if you haven't already, go grab your LifeBook because you're going to probably want to take notes tonight. So this quote that I'm going to read with you now is actually from page 103 in your LifeBook. So if you want to open it up, highlight stuff, put little stars there. And in there, Dr. A says, my goal is for you to become the dominant force in your life. When you have internal stability and external equilibrium, each day of your life will become all out magical. You'll possess a habit that most have never even thought about. All out magical. How many of you would like that? Give me a 7 in the chat box. If you'd like your life to be all out magical. And I will tell you from my own personal experience, what he talks about in that quote had never even really occurred to me before I made the decision to get healthy. And again, back to the mindfulness and becoming and really thinking about where you want your mind to be. I've got another question for you to consider. I'd like you to take a moment and think, before I go on to the next slide, think about who is it that is responsible for your current health and well-being? Now, some of you who are clients of our program might immediately say, well, it's my coach. Okay, my coach is the one who's they really have been the ones, making a real impact. Or maybe you might say it's your LifeBook. Or on the other end of the spectrum, you might say, well, I think it's that coworker at work that keeps bringing in donuts and tempting me. Maybe they're the ones that are responsible. Or maybe it's a family member that says, sure, you can have some cake. It's your birthday, right? So again, I ask the question though, some of you have already figured out the answer. Who is it that's responsible for your current health and well-being? I'd suggest that it's you. And this all comes down really to mindset. I would suggest that rather than looking at who else might be responsible, that you now change your mindset and become the dominant force in your own life. And when you do that, you end up with the ability to respond well to whatever life throws at you. Because most of you have lived long enough to know life will throw things at you. But as you think about this, I'd like you to take a moment and pause and remember, why is it that you want to get healthier? When you made the decision for better health, what was the main priority for why you wanted to do that? What would it be like if you actually did become the dominant force in your life instead of passively reacting to whatever comes up? It's kind of a cool thought, isn't it? When you face a challenge, think about this. Do you get upset? Do you run from it? Do you make excuses? Or do you seek to learn? Because that mindset is so very important. And I'd like you to take a moment. I'd like you to think about something bad that's happened in your life recently. And it could be maybe something that happened at work today, or maybe something that happened in your family this past week. Or if you can't think of anything, you can go back a year ago to about a year ago when the global pandemic kind of closed down our world. And I'm going to put another poll up that I'd like you to answer. We'll put that up here in just a moment. It says, when something bad happens in the world, now you only get to pick one of these choices. You might want to pick 3. You only get to pick one. Primarily, when something bad happens in the world, do you find yourself focusing on whose fault it was? Find yourself wondering why the world isn't different? I've been there already. Do you find yourself blaming people who hold other beliefs? We have definitely seen that within the past couple of months and so on. Or do you seek to understand what can be learned from it? And I'd encourage you to answer very honestly and without self-judgment on this. You're really just looking for, what's my current reality right now? And as soon as we're able, I'd love to see the poll results on that, because I've been in all of those positions before. I would bet that a lot of you have too. It's very easy when something goes wrong to look at, okay, whose fault was that? Or why can't this be different? Or who else could I blame? Because it can't possibly be my responsibility. And so when are we able to put the poll results up? We're still maybe waiting for, oh, here we go. Great. Oh, wow. All right. So here we go, guys. 10% of you focus on whose fault it was. 20% of you wonder why the world isn't different. 9% of you are blaming other people. 54% of you, please reach back and pat yourself on the back. Seek to understand what can be learned from it. Good for you. Because here's what I've found on this journey. When you can look to seek growth, amazing things happen. Dr. A talks about it in the LifeBook as above and below the line thinking. And so if you're looking at our diagram here, you can see if below the line, he would define it as being closed or defensive or wanting to be right. We've all been there. Above the line thinking is open. It's curious. It has a growth mindset. And so you want to think about, where do you typically find yourself when you hit a challenge? Everyone goes below the line from time to time. So that's not about judging yourself and giving yourself a hard time about the fact that you go below the line. You just want to get good at recognizing it. And I'll give you an example. Thanks to Dr. A, I've made a lot of progress in this area, but we're all still a work in progress, right? And I'll tell you, when the pandemic hit, going below the line for a time was likely a universal response. But if you find yourself living there, you're going to find that you're spending a lot of energy trying to be right or blaming people or situations. And learning to move above the line is going to be crucial if you want to become the healthiest version of yourself and if you want to be able to create. And it starts with self-awareness. I'll tell you, in my own experience, when the pandemic hit, I dove below the line and I settled in there for about 3 days. It was not a good time. And some of you can relate to that. But then I realized I was giving away my power and I wasn't living the life that I wanted to live. And so I made a deliberate decision to move to curious. What can I learn in this season? How can I grow in this season? And I decided to take responsibility for my behavior and my results. And I'm going to bring on a guest next. I have 2 guest speakers for you this evening that I'm just really delighted for you to meet. Our next speaker is somebody I've known for a long time, since our currently 30-year-olds were little guys. So I've known her, we've raised our kids together. And in more recent years, Cliff and I have had the opportunity to work with Jenny as she's become a client and now a coach. And she's learned so much about this. So I asked her to come on, share a little bit with us about what she's learned. Go ahead, Jenny.
Thank you, Shirley, for asking me to share this evening. February started out really rough for our family. One of my grandsons was diagnosed with a benign tumor near his knee that we did not know was benign at the time. My son was struggling with mono. My husband was having a surgical procedure, and my dad was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. That literally was someone in all 4 generations of our immediate family. And this came also at a time when our family is still grieving the loss of one of our son-in-laws to cancer in this past year. It was overwhelming. And I know that you guys can relate to overwhelming. I'm sure you know that, as things pile up, it's hard. And you get it when I say that it was a time filled with heartache and sadness, stress, fear, anger, and panic. I look at that diagram that was on the couple of slides ago, and the person below the line had closed arms and the person above the line had open arms. Well, at these moments, I was below the line and I wanted to stay there. But I knew if I stayed there that I would feed that fear, stress, anger, and panic, and then I would have more fear, stress, anger, and panic. It would be like a downward spiral that would just control my life. So I made this conscious decision that I would not stay below the line. I knew I had to deal with all the things I was feeling, but I also knew that I had to intentionally go above the line. Like when I'm below the line, I actually feel myself jump. I have to picture that, jumping above the line to that place of learning. And then being in that place would allow me to use some specific tools to help me create change. I re-engaged in journaling my thoughts and feelings, used prayer and meditation for a clear mind, began to focus on what I'm grateful for, put some deep breathing into action, made time to de-stress, and then that helped create more changes. I focused on strengthening and renewing family relationships. I shared health and wellness to family and friends. I started to look at some really fun goals for the future for our family. And I talk to myself like in third person. You know how you do that? Jenny, just breathe. Jenny, relax. Jenny, you've got this. Because what we tell ourselves in times of stress is super important. So I continue to use all those tools day by day, hour by hour, and sometimes moment by moment. All those situations, they didn't go away. They're still there. And sometimes I still go below the line, but I am super thankful for how I've changed and how I've continued to learn to respond in a way now that allows me to jump from that place of those closed arms to that place of open arms so that I can have a healthy, growing mindset. Thank you all for listening this evening.
Oh, Jenny, that was fantastic. And I'm just enjoying the mental image of seeing everyone on this call the next time they go below the line, having their closed arms and then just jumping as they go to open arms. I love it, Jenny. That was fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing tonight. Guys, when you're faced with challenges, it's really easy to play the victim. And it's very easy to look at things like, and to look at why these things are happening. And we'll come on here and look at the very next part of what Dr. A introduced in the Habits of Health book. And he talks about the drama triangle, where you can move to victim, to villain, to hero. Some look quickly for who to blame, then they become the villain. Or I'm sorry, they look for who to blame and become the villain, or they might be playing the victim and saying, oh, it's not fair. Why is this being done to me? The third category, the hero, some of you might be looking at that and thinking, well, being a hero is a great thing, right? You might even take some pride on being the hero. Well, I'll give you a little insight into a hero in the drama triangle. A hero hates conflict. They hate pain. They will do anything to prevent it. So they arrive to save the day. But the truth is that none of these three options in the drama triangle represent a beneficial response. They can lead to unrest. They can lead to anxiety, to stress, to unhealthy habits. If you're busy being the hero, it is just exhausting. So it's not that you will never visit the drama triangle, but you want to be aware that it exists and make a decision to quickly spot when you go there so that you can move to a more beneficial response. So you might be thinking, well, Shirley, what in the world would be a more beneficial response? Well, I'm so glad you asked. So here comes your skill set. What if we move from the drama triangle into the empowerment triangle? So when you find yourself drifting below the line, what if you move from victim, from saying, oh dear, why is this happening to me, to taking responsibility as the creator of your story and focus on creating the desired outcome rather than reacting to what happens? What if, rather than being the villain, trying to figure out who's to blame, what if you become the challenger instead, using the obstacles to stay curious that you can learn and grow? This is starting to feel better already, isn't it? What if, rather than enabling others as a hero, what if you were to become a coach who helps others by empowering them? It's a much more positive and much more beneficial place to be. And you may have noticed these two triangles kind of mirror each other. So the victim can become the creator. The hero can become the coach. The villain can become the challenger. But you might be saying to yourself, well, surely when I'm in the heat of the moment, how in the world do I do that? Well, I'm so glad you asked. So remember at the very beginning when we talked about who was multitasking and who was fully present? It really does a great setup for what we're going to talk about right now, because the truth is when you are multitasking, it's very, very hard to be aware of what's going on in your brain. You know how I said I used to take multitasking as a badge of honor, but the fact was my brain was going so quickly that it wasn't easy for me to recognize when my brain wasn't serving me well. That mind and body connection, they're tightly linked. So when you are fully present, you're more likely to quickly spot when you're drifting below the line. You might feel it as a change in your breathing, or you might find that either you're breathing really fast, or maybe you stop breathing, like you're holding your breath, or maybe you feel like there's an increase in your heart rate, or a lump in your throat, or that icky feeling in the pit of your stomach. And it often happens when your ego and your identity are being threatened. That's something that's a useful thing to know. So in that moment, it's time to stop, challenge, and choose. And if you've been with us for any period of time, you've heard that phrase before that Dr. A had introduced to us, quite a few years ago. Stop in the moment. Stop and think and challenge. What's going on here? What do I want to have happen? And then choose, make the choice that's consistent with your goals. But that's going to be easier when you're able to be more fully present. So one of the ways you can get more fully present, Jenny already mentioned it, and that is to get in control of your breathing. Because again, that mind and body link, your controlled breathing can also help you take control of your mind. Put a 5 in the chat box if you regularly practice controlled breathing. I suspect there's a lot of you that already do this, but for some of you, it's going to be new. And you'll find more of this on page 118 to 120 in the LifeBook. I had the opportunity to learn this directly from Dr. A when he said, Shirley, your mind isn't serving you well. And I said, okay, what do I do about that? So that's when he introduced me to this idea. So controlled breathing, it's a constant rhythm, it's even and relaxed, and we're going to do one breath together. So you could breathe into the count of 5 and breathe out to the count of 5, or you could do my favorite, which is breathe into the count of 4 and breathe out to the count of 6. So here's how this goes. Now, if you're driving, don't close your eyes, but the rest of you all, close your eyes just for a moment and breathe with me. So you're going to breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4. And now breathe out to the count of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many of you could just feel your shoulders go limp in the process? Doesn't that feel phenomenal? For some of you, that's the most controlled breathing you've had all day today. And here's what I'd suggest you do with controlled breathing. I'd suggest you practice it every morning. I'll give you the same assignment that Dr. A gave me. He said 1 minute in the morning. And I said, oh no, I could do 5. He said, no, do 1. That'll be enough for you. He knew how fast my brain went. But just 1 minute in the morning, it might be when you first wake up, or maybe you're halfway through your workday and you just take a pause somewhere and take about 10 breaths. So that's about a minute. And repeat it as needed. Or if you're in the middle of a meeting and it's not an option for you to go out and take 10 slow breaths, maybe you take 1 slow breath, or here's your other trick. Pick up your water bottle, you're in the middle of a meeting, take a long drink. Because you know what? None of you expected me to talk while I was taking that drink, right? So when you take that drink, use that as a time to slow down your thoughts, slow down your breathing so that you can be more fully present. And you will find that once you've slowed your racing mind, you will be more effectively able to stop, challenge, choose in order to more quickly recover, rather than taking up residence in the drama triangle. So let's see what that looks like. So we've already talked about the drama triangle, the empowerment triangle. But here's what this looks like in practice. So if you're looking at the diagram, here you are at the top, and something happens. Now, we all tend to drift below the line. It's just a matter of how far below the line you're going to go. You don't want to go as far down as I did when the pandemic hit. Trust me on that, guys. That's not a pleasant place to go. So you start to drift below the line. Now, you could go all the way down to the drama triangle, but nobody wants to be down there, really. What happens if instead you stop, challenge, choose? Do you see how that gives you a chance to more quickly recover and get back to being fully present again? How many of you would like to do that the next time you face a challenge? It's going to be awfully helpful, right? So if you are really liking this idea and wanting to read more about Stop, Challenge, Choose, Dr. A has an ebook. It's a free download at habitsofhealth.com, or you can just talk to whoever invited you onto this call and ask them to share a copy of that with you. But I want to get on to our next guest today. Our next guest is someone who's pretty special to me. You'll notice from the name, her last name and mine match. And some of you might say, oh, this was just Shirley's sneaky plan to put cute pictures of her grandbabies on the Habits of Health call. And that's possible. But Christa Mast is not only a member of our team and growing a fantastic business, but she also happens to be married to our youngest son. And so that means that as her business mentor and also as her mother-in-law, I've gotten many opportunities to see her apply the principles of the drama and the power empowerment triangle. So I asked her to come share with you a little bit this evening about what's on her heart. Christa?
Thanks, Shirley. I have an amazing family, as you can see from those pictures, and I absolutely love the life that we've created. My husband and I got physically healthy 6 years ago now, but this journey of mental health and mindset has been a continual work in progress for us. Tonight, I feel really immensely grateful to be able to share with you vulnerably about a situation that has come into our lives and how I've used Stop, Challenge, and Choose over the past few months. So this past December, my amazing husband that you saw in those pictures, Cameron, was diagnosed with clinical depression. And as we have been working to get him the care that he needs, we have been faced with many choices. And one choice that we made as a family early on was that we were going to look at this as not happening to us, but happening for us. And I personally made the decision in December that I was going to stay open and I was going to stay curious so that I could learn and grow through this. My first reaction was to drift into the drama triangle and to stay there. Thoughts like, why is this happening to us? Why me? I am definitely not cut out for this. And why my husband? And I'm equally as tempted to play the villain and blame myself. I must not be a good enough wife, or this would not be happening and he wouldn't be going through this. I really need him in the business or our business is going to suffer. What will other people think? Not to mention, I daily still want to be the hero and desperately wish I could just fix everything that he's going through. Staying in the drama triangle traps us in fear. It traps us in shame and doubt. When I feel my chest tightening, like Shirley just mentioned, and I recognize that those thoughts are coming to my head, I stop. I become aware. I take a few deep breaths like we just did together. And I choose to shift above the line and shift those thoughts. This is happening for me. And it's here to teach me. I have everything I need within me to create a positive outcome. What is this teaching me about myself? What can I learn about my husband? How can I support and encourage him right now with what he needs? And how can I use what I'm learning and experiencing to serve others who might be going through a similar experience? By no means do the below the lines questions never come into my head. They do. And choosing to live in the empowerment triangle doesn't take away the fact that some days I'm really scared. However, something that I've learned is that if I can own my thoughts, own my choices, accept myself for feeling scared, and show loving kindness to myself, then I can truly move to hope and possibility. And this is so true. So here's a few things I've learned. I've learned that what I go through is designed to grow me. I've learned to be a better listener and to be more empathetic, first towards myself, to show kindness to myself, and then also to others. And I've learned that I do have the confidence and I can lead our business, and I do have the skills to support and lead our team. And I've learned to ask for help. I've reached out to others and have relied on our amazing OPTAVIA community and our incredible church family. So this circumstance in my life is growing me in a way that nothing else in my life yet has. And it is serving me to prepare for my future. I'm becoming a stronger wife, a stronger mom, and a better friend because I am choosing to embrace this obstacle as the way. Thanks for letting me share.
Guys, when I asked her to share on this call, I had no idea what her topic was going to be. I just knew she'd have something really helpful to share. Was I right? I just found out last night what she was going to share about. Do you think I'm a little proud? Just a little bit. Thank you, Christa, so much for your transparency, because I'm sure you're touching more lives than you'll know. So thank you for sharing that with us. So as we wrap this up, my friends, we're almost to the end of our time. And thank you for all the encouragement in the chat box. My goodness, we'll have fun reading that later. As you wrap this up, now, if you just listen today and you don't actually put this into action, nobody benefits, right? So I'd like you to either put into the chat box, or more importantly, tell whoever it is that invited you onto this call, what action are you going to take as a result of this element? Maybe you're going to practice conscious breathing. Maybe you're going to practice stop, challenge, choose. Maybe you're going to start spotting the drama triangle more quickly and moving to the empowerment triangle. But the important thing is tell someone what you've learned and what you're going to apply, and then check back with them in a week and let them know how it went. We have one more poll for you, because these are just fun, right? And you can answer this one quickly. Will you implement something that you learned from tonight's community time? Either yes, I definitely will, yes, I probably will, or no, I'm not just ready yet. And once you've answered that, the poll will go away, and we're going to wrap this up in just a moment. We'll call for those poll results in a minute. But here you go, guys. Little tip for you. Did you get a text reminder about tonight's call? Because if you didn't, I've got something awesome for you. All you need to do is text OPTAVIA 30, all run together, no spaces, all caps, to 99000. And then every Wednesday evening before our 8:30 Eastern call, you'll get a reminder. Now, some of you are watching on YouTube later afterward, or watching this as a recording, or maybe you're listening to the podcast. You can opt into this too, OPTAVIA 30 at 99000, and that'll give you the link to come and join us live. I'm curious, let's see, what were those poll results? I'm curious to see. All right, 81% of you, yes, you definitely will. 1% of you aren't ready yet, and that's okay. 17% of you probably will. Good job. Go put that to work this week. And coming up next week, do come back and join us. We have our Habits of Health community time. The topic is going to be thriving in your health with a vacation action plan. Summer and Mike Morenz are going to be hosting the call. You will not want to miss this, guys. It's going to be an excellent help for you as you get started into your summer season. And as we wrap this up, I'm going to encourage you, come back again next week, and we'll look forward to learning more together.
At OPTAVIA, our mission is to offer the world lifelong transformation, one healthy habit at a time. The prior audio contained the personal testimonials of independent coaches and clients within the OPTAVIA community. Their results are based on the unique experiences of their journey. We cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. We hope those stories inspire you to continue your journey with, or to consider joining OPTAVIA. But please note that they have not been verified, and your individual journey to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you speak with a healthcare provider in the US or a doctor in Singapore and Hong Kong prior to beginning your journey with OPTAVIA. Additionally, this audio may have contained income or earning representations of some independent OPTAVIA coaches. We cannot guarantee financial success. Success with OPTAVIA is derived from successful sales efforts, which require hard work, diligence, skill, persistence, competence, and leadership. OPTAVIA acknowledges that this audio may be accessible to OPTAVIA coaches in the US, Hong Kong, and Singapore. For independent OPTAVIA coaches operating in the US, please see the OPTAVIA income disclosure statement for statistics on actual earnings of US coaches under the U.S. compensation plan. Please note that the income disclosure statement only applies to independent OPTAVIA coaches operating in the U.S. under the U.S. compensation plan and does not in any way constitute any representations as to actual or potential accrual of benefits for Hong Kong or Singapore coaches under the International Compensation Plan. Yours in health, the OPTAVIA team.